Yo, what's up guys? This is how to sing high notes if you have a low voice. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, pound that thumbs up button, let's do this. So what you're gonna do, you don't have a little teenage boy's voice like Bruno Mars or Jason Mraz. You have testicles, and unfortunately all that testosterone has lowered your voice down into the basement. You're struggling to sing high notes. What you're gonna do, how are you gonna figure this out? So a lot of the times guys certainly do have lower voices obviously than the girls, and some guys are set lower than others. But most guys are gonna get pretty high once they've figured things out. The problem that most guys have is the panic, is the push, is the struggle, the fear of high notes. So your first steps into high notes are gonna be, how do I get around the push? How do I get around the reach, the panic, the this type of feeling where you feel like, oh my God, I'm going high. It creates a kind of negative loop. So what happens is this, you go for the high note, because there's panic there, certain muscles start to grab, pulls the larynx up, and it actually inhibits the natural release mechanism that needs to work in order for you to sing high with freedom. Because that mechanism is inhibited, it increases the fear, which inhibits it more, makes you grab more. So the question is, how do we get out of this negative loop? Because once you feel that grab, once you feel that reach, you're done. You can't get any higher. Once that larynx is jacking up, the right muscles can't engage, the wrong muscles are holding. It's a big mess. How do we get around this? So for me, it was a squeak. It wasn't even thinking about singing high. The first thing you got to do is you got to figure out, right, I need to come at the whole sense of singing higher with a different perspective. And I've got to think of it as flat. Not that the high notes are up somewhere out of reach. This is flat, bro. This is flat. It's even. Whether it's this note, this note, this note, it's going to be flat. You get me? And we've got to think about this, bringing the vocal cords together. When people panic, almost always, the vocal cords start to come apart. They push air through. The wrong muscles start to grab and interfere with the process and inhibit it, like we just mentioned. So we've got to be consciously aware of, when are the vocal cords together and when are they starting to come apart? Now, if you can make this sound, for example, it's a start. Even when I talk, you can hear there's chord closure. But you can make this type of sound like this. Now, it's gentle. Listen to it carefully. It's a gentle type of sound. Yeah, if I'm talking to you and I go, this is fuller. The compression, the chords come together more aggressively, But with this sound, feels like this, literally, like if I'm talking to you fully, like this, it feels like the chords come together quite firmly. If I do this though, it feels like they come together very gently. It's a subtle type of feeling, and you've got to develop a relationship with this feeling, because if you don't, you'll never sing high, bro. Now, from there, if we can feel that gentle pressure and maintain it up and down, just into something simple like that, a slide. Now we're starting to sing higher without the reach. As soon as you feel this though, reset. That's the panic. Do not panic. So you have to feel this. It's just a little simple edgy sound. The beauty of this though is it helps you get around the reach. Now, the way I first found this, and I've spoken about this in previous videos before, but I want to reinforce it, I want to pound it into your brain, is I was driving taxis around Cornwall, taking drunk stag doos round all night. Drive me bonkers, but in between jobs, I would just be sat there in the car making sounds. I would get out of singing mode. Yeah, I'd get out of singing mode and just start thinking about kind of making the sounds in an easy way, finding easy ways to make noises. I mean, that sounds ludicrous, but I promise you, This is the way around it. Stop singing. Start just making sounds easily and discovering, how do I make this sound easily without any push or fear? So I would just squeak. Started squeaking with this light pressure. So I just have like a... Now, what you're going to notice with this is, listen, as I get to the top, you never hear this. You never hear the vocal cords come apart. They stay together. Is that singing? No, certainly not. But is it free? Is it released? Or is it a reach? Is it a panic? Is it a push? It's free. It's easy for me to do. I feel like I'm on top. Now from that platform, you can start building into more power, into more sounds that are like singing sounds. But until you can get around the reach, it's just not going to sound good. It's going to always sound like a reach. It's going to sound like it's pushed, it's strained, it's not quite right. So the first thing you've got to do if you're trying to sing high notes and you've got a low voice is trick the brain into no longer reaching for high notes. Feel that light, gentle pressure through your range. Anything that can get you around the reach. And the way I found it was that. Gentle pressure, and do not let that pressure off as I go up. So rather than... Listen. Listen carefully, because when the vocal cords stay together, the right muscles begin to work for you. When they start to work, the panic muscles start to let go. The mind starts to realize, I don't have to worry so much about this. I don't have to panic. The mind starts to coordinate rather than anticipate. And that's your goal if you want to get round the reach. If you want to get to high notes with a low voice, you have to learn to coordinate rather than anticipate. Once you get into the now, once you get away from anticipating and you start to coordinate, those panic muscles start to let go. The right muscles start to bring the vocal cords together, keep them together, and learn to, how do I get high without the pull? How do I counteract this negative cycle I'm in? And learn to get higher without it being harder. I've got a ton of other useful information for struggling singers on this channel, guys, so feel free to check out my other videos. And if you want deep singing knowledge that you'll get nowhere else, subscribe, pound that thumbs up button. I'll see you in another video. Take care. Bye!